Have you been watching the series Agatha all along? I'm really enjoying it. And when this month's Soft Flex kit arrived, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to channel my Agatha.
Time to finish the road.
Last one there is a nice person.
Follow me, my friend, to glory at the end.
Hello, welcome to The Stylish Maker. My name's Carol. As I said, the Soft Flex Gone Batty Design Challenge kit arrived earlier this month, and I decided to make something a little bit Halloween themed, but I'm not big on Halloween jewellery. I'm not a big, wear Batty earrings or anything like that. So I decided to make something that was a little bit less conspicuously Halloween, and you could wear it every day of the year if you wanted to, but still had that Halloween witchy flavour. First though, I'm going to show you the unboxing that I did with my members a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to open the kit. It arrived last week. It's a bit shiny, so hopefully you can see that. It's got a little bat on it. Okay, so we're going to open the kit and talk about what's in it. I wore my Grateful Heart necklace today with my green jacket for Beth because she asked me in a comment on YouTube. She said, I can't wait to see what it looks like. So there you go, Beth, that's what it looks like. And I'm also wearing the earrings from the filigree necklace tutorial. I think this was a members only, the earrings were a members only. And I'm wearing those 3 bracelets, my memory wire one and the 2 stretch bracelets that I shared last week. The code to get $5 off the $30 or more, or off the kit, is Batty, so B-A-T-T-Y. Ooh, interesting. First, let's start off with the Soft Flex. It is black onyx, not unexpected for Halloween. It is the 0.48 millimeter medium. We have some brown 10 to 12 millimeters. They are fairly true to colour, perhaps a little bit darker on my screen than they are in real life. We've got some black faceted round beads. These ones are clear, but they have a stripy kind of line going on. They actually remind me of Christmas trees. They're a triangle and obviously the hole goes from top to bottom. Firstly, we've got our crimp tubes, as always. There we go. It's like a mother and son chain, so it's got a one larger loop and it's got a figure 8 loop between. There's a reasonable amount of that, probably about 50 centimeters of that chain. So those are really interesting. As I said, they remind me of Morticia. They're quite large, as you can see. I've got no idea what I'm going to do with these though, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. We've got a bat, and the hole in this bat goes through here, through his neck. It's quite a large hole, so would lend itself to maybe being on a piece of leather or something like that. Right, we have 2 bat charms with a moon and a bat. And we've got 6 of these grey beads. So these are very interesting. They've got kind of swirly pattern on them in black and a lighter grey. All right, and we have the standard 4 ear wires, which are this time in black, and a black lobster clasp. And inside the Gone Batty Jesse James pack, let's open it and find out what's in it. We have 2 black teardrops. They're faceted, they're really pretty. I love the way the light hits the faceting. They're quite large, they're larger than last month's ones. We have 2 of these black rectangle beads. The hole runs from there to there, and they're probably, I'd say, almost 1.5 centimeters, so 15 millimeters long, probably 8 millimeters across, and they are probably about 4 millimeters thick, so they're quite a substantial bead. These ones are interesting. They are a rectangle with very rounded sides. They almost look like they have an edge on them, but it's not actually an edge, it's just the way they've been shaped. Those are absolutely stunning. I'll zoom in again actually. Aren't they gorgeous? The faceting is like a star, absolutely gorgeous. They're quite thick as well. So aren't those pretty? They're probably about 6mm, but maybe 7. But they are clear, kind of a greyish clear, grade clear, and they have wavy lines on them. And we've got some black faceted rondelles. Also got 6 of those. They're very pretty. So we've got 8 of these. They are a 4mm faceted rondelle. Rhinestone rondelles. So there they are, and they are just clear this month. Now we've got these cubes. I think they've got a black back, and when you flip them over, the black back reads as purple, but they're actually clear. If I can hold one up this way, you can see they are actually clear, but they have this black on the back. So those are interesting. They are kind of a triangle shape. They remind me of the end of a funnel actually. So the hole runs from there to there. And we have some kind of snowflake beaded rondelles, daisy spaces. They're actually really nice. They're probably about 6mm across by about 1. Really nice ones. Lastly, well, not lastly, we've got one more. We have these. So these are interesting. They are a moon shaped, or a crescent, so it's the face of the moon. So the face is in here, and obviously a loop on the top. I could see these as a pair of earrings actually. Just maybe put a dangle even in the centre, or even just attach an ear wire to them as is. They're kind of cool. Lastly, we have one more bat charm. Not much to say about him, except he's got silver on the back and he's an enamel one. Now that you've seen the kit, there is one item in the kit that actually stumped me, and I didn't know what to do with it. I had to think long and hard about it. It was this. It's an unusual shape and I really loved it, but I couldn't decide what to do with it. I thought about maybe making a dangle for a necklace, but I didn't think that really worked. And because there were 2 of them, I thought maybe I could put them up here on the sides, but I didn't like that idea either. Anyway, I did come up with an idea, and I'm going to make a choker. And I'm going to put it in the center like this, but I'm not going to use it just plain. I'm going to put some beads on the top of it. Along with this project, my choker, I'm also going to be making a necklace, so make sure you stick around for that too. So 2 projects today, 2 necklaces, a choker and a longer necklace. And you can probably get away with wearing them together. Okay, so let's start by looking at the choker and what I'm going to use, because I've got some supplies that aren't usual jewellery making supplies and weren't in the kit. So I've got my oval here, so I'll just pop that aside. I've got a hook and eye, which is used for sewing. I've got the bat charm from the kit. I've got 2 oval jump rings, and you could use round, but I found oval worked much better. I've got one of the faceted rondelles. I've got 2 of these little triangle beads. These were quite fascinating to me. And I've got some of the smaller rondelles here. These ones are about 3 or 4mm. As well as that, I've got a piece of velvet ribbon, and this is about 1 inch or 2.5 centimetres wide. I've got a tiny wee piece of elastic. I used black just simply because that's what I had, but if you could get purple, that would be great. And this is optional. I've got a piece of purple felt. I've got a needle and some purple thread. I have some beading needles. I have some fireline in the colour Smoke. I've got a lighter. I've got some scissors and some E6000. So those are all the things you're going to need to make this project. Now we're going to start off by making the focal, which is using this. So I'll just clear my things away and then we can get started. The first thing you're going to need is a beading needle, and this is a collapsible eye needle. So when you thread it, it's nice and easy because the hole's nice and big, but when you put it through your beads, it collapses so that it goes through nice and easily. Now these are very fine and they do bend really readily, so don't worry about that, that's just the way they are. Now I have some fire line here in the colour Smoke, and this is a 0.15 millimetre. So I'm just going to grab a piece of this, take off my cord tidy and find the end.
Spray painted in black and blue. I can feel the storm winds rising. Can you feel them too?
Now you don't need too much of this, you're not going to be threading on too many beads, but I've got maybe 50 centimetres there. I'm threading up my needle. So I'm going to take my bead and I'm going to attach it to the centre of my focal piece here. If I go up and down in the centre hole, it won't hold. So I'm going to go up on one of the holes just to the side of the centre. And just leave your tail because you don't want that to come through. Then I'm going to put my bead on. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go back down into this one. Basically, all you want to do is make sure that it's secure on there. And then I'm going to come to the back and I'm going to tie a knot. And another knot, so it's nice and secure. There we go. So now I'm going to secure it again. You probably can't see this, but my hole is going from here down to here, and I came down that side, so I'm going to come up this side. And then I'm going to go through my bead again. And just back down through again, just to secure it. Just to make it a little bit more secure, and then I'm going to tie another knot. You just want to make sure that your bead isn't going anywhere. Now I'm going to attach these two beads. I'm going to attach them so that they're this way, so that the smaller end is on the outside. I want to bring my thread up to the front, and you can go on either side of that centerpiece, it doesn't matter. And then thread on my bead. And you just want to make sure it's going to sit in the right place, and then go back down through one of the holes. And you can see here it's pulling off to the side just slightly. So what I'm going to do is I came up through that hole here, so I'm going to now come up through this hole on this side and reattach it so that it pulls it back to the center. And then I'm going to go back through the bead again. And then you just want to make sure everything pulls nice and tight. And then we're going back down to the back again. Now don't worry what this looks like on the back, because it will be covered, so don't worry about that. All right, now we're going to go and attach the other bead. So I'm coming all the way over to the other side of that main bead and coming up through to the front. Now I'm going to thread on this one and going back down through that hole there. So I came up through that side, now I'm going to come up through this side. And going back down through the bead again. Just pull everything up nice and tight and back down through that side. Now give it a good pull, and I'm going to tie it off again. Now this isn't necessary, I just like everything to be nice and secure. That's what I have so far. Now we're going to take 4 of the little rondelles and put them all around the outside. I'm coming up through the side here, through this one here. And I'm going to thread on this one. As you can see, my beading needle is already quite bent, just what happens. So I came up there, so I'm going to go down into this one, just making sure that you don't come up and go down in the same one. Then I'm coming up in the next one over, and I'm going to put another one on, and going back down in the next one. That's what I have now. And then I'm going to repeat that for the other two.
I pinched my arm just to see if you could feel what I feel. We found each other right from the start. A conversation between our hearts. I wanted more, but it was hard to get through your shield. Your hair was just so.
So that's what I have now. Now if the beads aren't quite sitting where you want them to, like this one here is sitting out a little bit and I'm not happy with it, I want it to sit more like this. So what I'm going to do is go back through those beads and just try and secure them in the right place.
Maybe I'm wrong and it's only me and you didn't feel a thing.
That's better. I'm happier with that. Okay, now I'm going to come across and do this side.
Within my mind and every night in the shadows of my sleep, I cannot say I love.
And that is what I have now. Now I'm going to flip it over and I am going to tie it off. So that's what I have now. And now I'm going to put a piece of felt on the back. So I'm just going to take my piece of felt that I have here, just taking a marker or a pen and just drawing around it. Now you will need to cut this off because it's too big, so don't worry about the colour or anything like that. Okay, now we'll take our scissors and we'll cut inside that line. And you may have to trim around this a few times to get it to be in the right place. So it's slightly big. I actually want it to sit inside here. So I'm going to trim just a fraction off again. That's what it looks like with the purple behind it, and I really like the purple kind of popping through. But before I attach that, what I need to do is attach my bat charms. So I'm going to take my piece and my 2 jump rings and my bat charm, and I need 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. As I said, these are oval jump rings. I think that the jump ring sits better when it's an oval in this instance. So opening my jump ring, putting on my bat charm. I'm going to hold it by the edge there. The center is here, but there's no hole at the center. So I'm going to attach 1 jump ring here and 1 jump ring here, just so that it hangs in the center. And I need to make sure I get my bat on the right way round. So that's what I have now, and he's actually hanging off to the side. So I do need to put another jump ring through this one and through the charm again, and that will make him hang in the center. So we open this one. I'm assuming the bats are him. And going through on the other side there, the other loop, and popping on your bat as well, and closing up the jump ring. And there he is, and as you can see, he's now hanging in the center. All right, next we're going to take some glue. Now I am famously bad with glue, so I'm going to put down a piece of paper and we're going to glue onto that. And I'm just going to run a bead of my E6000 around the outside, just a little bit. You don't need very much, in fact you don't want very much. Put the lid on it before it goes everywhere, and then we will pop that on here. I was just about to say I did it without getting glue on myself, but I have glue all over my fingers. I'll wash them, I'll be back. So there it is, and as you can see, I've got glue on my paper, so just as well I use the paper. So we're going to take our ribbon and we're going to just make sure that it fits around our neck. Now mine is slightly large, and that's good because I need to fold over the ends, etc. Then we're going to find the center of our ribbon just by folding it in half. And you can just make a crease with your finger, that should be fine. And we want to pop this on there, and I'm actually going to glue it again. I did think I'd sew it, but I think it's much easier just to glue it. And glue again. So popping a fairly big dollop of glue on the back, and I want to go out to the sides this time, and I'm just going to pop that down on there and wiggle it around until you get it right where you want it. Honestly, in real life the colors are way better. It's just looking so stunning, whereas on camera it looks a little dark. Okay, so I just want to make sure that sticks. Make sure it's stuck, just pressing down the back and making sure it's nice and firm. Now I am going to just set this aside for a minute, and I'm going to make the other necklace, and then I'm going to come back and finish this, so make sure you stay tuned. Now we are going to start by making a dangle for our necklace, and we're going to use this beautiful teardrop. Now you will notice that I have 2 extra faceted rondelles here. These happen to be in my stash. If you wanted to, you could use any other bead for these. It's just what I had. I'm going to start by taking a head pin, and I'm going to feed on my teardrop and one of my faceted rondelles. And then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to make a bend in the top of that head pin, nice and close to the bead. And that's what I have. Next, I'm going to make a loop in the top, so I'm going to take my flush cutters, and using the flush side facing the teardrop, I am going to cut that at about 1 centimetre from the bend, holding both ends. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to make my loop. Now you notice with my round nose pliers I have some marks on them, and if you want to know what that's all about, I'll leave you a link in the description box below to a video all about how to make the perfect loop. So just turning my hand away from me. By the way, I'm using black head pins here rather than silver. I just thought that they worked better with the black findings that I'm going to use on the necklace. So there is my teardrop. Now I'm going to make another dangle, and this time it's going to be for my extender chain. So I'm just going to take my other rondelle and I'm going to pop it onto my other head pin, just like that, and I'm going to use my one-step looper to make a loop. Now just be careful when you're using your one-step looper with these smaller beads, because sometimes the jaws can come around and squash the bead or shatter it. So I'm actually making my loop a little bit further away than I normally would, and it's not quite closed, so I will just close it. So there's my little dangle. I'm just going to pop that aside, and I will put it on my extender chain when I get that far. So I've already laid out my beads. Now this is what I have done so far, and I'm going to add a little bit of chain to the back of the necklace. I took the beads that I had, and I had some larger ones and some smaller ones, so I basically dotted the larger ones around. I really liked these 2, and there were only 2, so I thought they would be part of the focal area, and then I just mixed in the rest. There is nothing on here that didn't come from the kit except for my findings. So the black clasp did come from the kit. I've got a couple of wire guardians there. I've got some 6mm black jump rings and some 4mm black jump rings. The crimps came from the kit. I've got a bead stopper, and I've got the chain from the kit. So that's all we're going to be using, as well as the soft flex, which is the black onyx one. And I need it to be about 50 centimetres probably. That's about right. Pop that back on and cut this off. And I'm going to pop a bead stopper on one end. So really the design is just all about balance. It's about bringing the colours and the size of the beads and kind of evenly spacing them. So for example, I've got grey here, and grey here and here. So it's nice and evenly spaced. And they are also, they just happen to be the large beads as well. I've got these ones kind of spaced around between them, and the same with the black. So it was just a matter of kind of spreading them. Okay, I'm going to turn this on its side, and I'm going to start stringing. So with the soft flex, obviously you don't need a needle. I'm just going to, if I can find the hole in this first bead, I'm just going to start stringing, and I'll meet you at the center. While I'm doing that, if you're interested in making any of the jewellery I'm wearing today, I will leave you some links in the description box for the tutorials. I'm wearing my Grateful Heart necklace and also my Grateful Heart bracelet. This one is my Forever Summer necklace, and the earrings I made in my 5-minute earrings tutorial. So I'll leave you links for all of those down below. I'll also leave you a link to a blog post, and that will contain links to everything I've used today. All right, we're almost at the center. I have one more bead to put on from the center. Now notice that I did put 2 of the cubes in the center next to each other, but I will be putting my dangle in the middle. I just thought that the cubes framed the dangle really well. So feeding on the last bead, then I'm feeding on my dangle, and of course I want to make sure that my loop is well closed so that it doesn't fall off. And then I'm going to just string on the rest of the beads. So I'll meet you up when I'm finished.
But my heart tells me you should stay a little while. Are we at the end or are we at the start? 129 beats per minute from my heart. Anywhere we go is where I long to roam night or day. I'm taking you.
So there we go. I have finished stringing my beads, and it's looking pretty good. One thing I did do, which I wouldn't normally do, was I used the daisy spacer here and the rondelle, the rhinestone rondelle, on either side of these large beads. Normally I would use a bead cap, but there weren't any bead caps in this pack, and I thought those worked really well as a bead cap. I'm going to measure it and see how long it is so that we can decide how long we want our chain. So there's my ruler. And my necklace at the moment measures about, let me see, 37 centimeters or 14.5 inches. So I probably want my necklace to be at least 42 centimeters. And so I want to put on some chain. So what I'm going to do is just set this aside for a minute, putting both ends into my bead stopper so my beads don't fall off. And then I'm going to take a couple of jump rings, in fact 4 jump rings, and I'm going to put them on the end of my chain. This is a very pretty chain. It's like a mother and son chain. It's really cute. So taking my 2 pairs of chain nose pliers, I'm going to open my jump rings, and I'm going to feed on the end of my chain and close up my jump ring. So there is my jump ring on the end. Now I'm going to repeat that. And the reason I'm repeating it, there's 2 reasons. Firstly, these jump rings don't feel very secure to me. They're quite a fine gauge. And secondly, I think I want the chunkier look of 2 jump rings. So I'm going to attach another one in exactly the same way.
Are we at the end or are we at the start? 129 beats per minute from my heart. Anywhere we go is.
So there it is with its 2 jump rings attached. If you don't know how to use jump rings or you've never used them before, I will leave you a link to a tutorial all about jump rings and any of the other techniques that I've used today as well. So now I'm going to repeat that for the other side.
I can see it on the horizon, spray painted in black and blue. I can feel the storm winds rising. Can you feel them too?
So there are both ends of my chain with the jump rings attached. Now you may be thinking this is an awfully long piece of chain for what I'm doing. So there is a method to my madness, so just bear with me. So we're going to attach the chain to the necklace. So I'm going to take off one of my ends out of my bead stopper, and I'm going to feed on my crimp tube. And then I'm going to feed on my wire guardian. The thread goes up one side and down the other, like that. Then I'm going to thread my end down through my crimp tube, like that. Now I'm going to use my magical crimping tool to crimp this. Now if you don't have one, you can use a standard crimping tool, but I would think that you might want to cover this one with a crimp cover. The beauty of this tool is that I don't have to use a crimp cover. So just squeezing this one, turning and squeezing again. Now if you're having trouble using your magical crimper, I have done a whole video on troubleshooting it. People always tell me they can't make it work, so I did a video all about it. If you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Now, if you are subscribed and you're not seeing notifications from me and you're watching on a mobile, what you need to do is go into your settings and turn on the YouTube notifications. Now, if you're enjoying this one, it would be great if you'd give me that thumbs up as well. Right, just testing it, it's nice and firm. Yep, that's what that looks like. Now, I think I'm going to be able to put my tail down through a couple of these beads. Yes. You don't have to do this. This is just the way I do things. I've popped it through two, and I'm going to hide it in the center of this big bead. So I'm going to cut off my tail about there and feed this up. Oh, I forgot to do something, didn't I? I forgot to put my jump rings in there, so I'm going to have to open my jump rings. Silly me. Just before I do that though, I am going to squeeze my wire guardian just a little bit at the bottom there. So that's what that looks like. Right, let's open some jump rings and put them on, and hopefully I'll remember to do this when I attach the other side. Oh dear. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2 pairs of chain nose pliers and open the jump rings that I just put on. Open, feed on my wire guardian and close. Do you ever have days like that? And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other jump ring. Would have been much easier to do it the other way. So that's what I have now, and you can see my 2 jump rings there, just giving it a little bit more of a chunky look. Now I'm going to feed all my beads back to the other end, and I'm going to crimp the other end. So taking my crimp tube and feeding it on, and then popping on my wire guardian, like one side and back down the other. And this time I'm going to put my jump rings on. So feeding on my 2 jump rings. And just popping them right up on the top of that wire guardian. So that's what I should have done the first time, and that looks good now. Now I need to feed everything down and feed on my crimp tube, so popping my crimp tube over that tail and then down through 2 of my beads. Obviously I've got a big gap and I need to pull everything up, and it should pull. If it doesn't, you can pull your crimp tube up and pull things down, and sometimes you need to do that several times just to make sure that everything's nice and firm. Now, you don't want your necklace too tight, you still want your beads to be able to move, otherwise you'll get a stiff necklace and that's not very nice. Okay, I think everything is about right. So now I'm going to take my magical crimping plier and crimp this one. So squeeze and turn until I get a nice round looking crimp. Okay, now I'm just going to trim off the end. So let's put this necklace on. It's obviously way too long. So that's my necklace without the chain. So if I just put a clasp on and it's too short, So it's not very much too short, but it's short enough that I need to add a little bit of chain. So what I'm going to do is just hold the chain and loosen this to about the place that I want my necklace to be, which is about there. So now I'm going to hold each side and take it off without decapitating myself. Now I'm just going to hold it like this with my finger where I thought the chain should be, or the length that I thought the chain would be, and I'm going to put it down on my mat. So it's actually only 3 of the main links, so it's not very much. But the reason I wanted to do that was I wanted to add a little bit of chain is also so that I can have an extender and so that I can wear it shorter if I wanted to, because if I made this with just the clasp and beads, you can't make it shorter. Whereas if I put a little bit of chain on, I can make it just a little bit shorter. So I'm actually going to cut the loop or the link next to that large one on both sides. And you can probably do this in a much more scientific way by measuring and all that, but for me this works. There you go, there's my necklace with the 2 pieces of chain attached. And I know they're only little, but it does make a difference. Now I want to cut a piece of chain 5 centimeters long, and I want to make sure that I end and begin on a large loop. So I'm cutting the small loops. So I'm just grabbing my ruler and measuring it. Okay, so 5 centimeters takes me exactly to the small loop, so I'm going to extend it a little bit. I'd rather have it slightly too long than too short. I'm going to cut that one there. So there's my tiny piece of chain, and it starts and finishes with the large loop. Next, I'm going to take my 4mm jump ring and attach my dangle to one end. Feeding on the last link of the chain and my little dangle, and closing that up. So there's my chain, my extended chain with its little dangle. Now that's a totally optional step, you don't have to do that. I just like the look of it when it's hanging down the back to have a little dangle, probably because I have short hair. Now we're going to attach it to the end of our chain with a 6mm jump ring. So grabbing our pliers, opening our jump ring, and feeding on the large link of our chain and the link of one end of our necklace, just doing up your jump ring there. So there it is with its extender. So there's the jump ring that you do the clasp up into, and there's the extender. And now I'm going to put my clasp on the other side, taking my 4mm jump ring. You could use a 6mm for this, I just prefer a 4. Same with attaching the dangle, you could have used a 6 for that as well. And opening my jump ring and popping on the clasp and the end of the other end of the chain, and doing up my jump ring. And there it is, done up with the extender. Now the reason I added this chain was simply so that if I wanted it shorter, I could just attach it into any one of these chain links and that would work fine. Just makes it just that fraction adjustable. If you want to see how I laid out the beads for the necklace, I'll leave you a picture of my necklace in the accompanying blog post, which is linked in the description box below, and that way you can see where I put everything. Now back to the choker. Now I need to measure my neck so that I can decide how long I need my necklace or my choker to be. So I've got a tape measure here, and I'm just going to put it around where I think my choker should be, and hold my finger there, and there we go. So my neck measures about 33 centimeters. Half of 33 is 16.5 centimeters, so I want to measure 16.5 centimeters from the center. So 16.5 centimeters takes us to there. Now when we attach our clasp or our hook, it is going to take up a little bit of space. So even if I fold this back a little bit, it will still give me enough room. So cutting it there. And I want to measure the same on this side. So 16.5 is there. Now, before I go any further and it frays everywhere like it is at the moment, I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to just sear those ends off. So don't go too close because you don't want it to burn, but that just stops it fraying. So you're not actually kind of touching it, it's just close by. There we go. That will stop everything coming unraveled. All right, the next thing we need to do obviously is attach our hook. And I've got an eye here, but I'm not going to use it. I've decided to use elastic instead. And the reason I'm using a piece of elastic is so that it's not so tight. When I wear a choker, I sometimes feel like I'm being strangled, whereas using a little piece of elastic gives you just enough kind of wiggle room so that when you swallow and things, it's not tight. Okay, so we're going to take this end and we're going to fold the end over. And I'm going to put this elastic in here. Now there are several ways you could do this. You could tuck this elastic, if you're worried about what it looks like on the inside, you could tuck that elastic in there and stitch it back this way. So let's do that. What I did was I folded my elastic in half and I put my ends together and then I've popped them underneath there and I'm just going to stitch down here. So I've got my needle and thread in matching thread and I'm going to start by just securing that, so stitching all the way through there. Now your stitches are going to show, so you want them to be nice and neat on the other side. You could do this in another way that your stitches didn't show, but I'm not worried about that. My thread matches and it's 2 stitches, you can't even see them. Well, that's secure. Now I can actually start stitching it all the way down, making it nice and neat. So just really, really carefully. I'm just kind of hooking through just a fraction of that ribbon at the front so that my stitches don't really show. And then I'm going to go back and do the other side. So just making it nice and secure. There's nothing wrong with attaching, going up through that elastic again too, to make sure that's secure as well. You want everything to stay where you want it to be. That's what that looks like on the outside. And now I'm going to actually stitch that up. I'm actually just going to zoom across and between those 2 layers and just secure that elastic in place. Now to end off, I'm actually going to end off between the 2 pieces of elastic there because that will hide my knot. So just taking a little bite with my needle, pulling it so the loop's almost through, hooking my needle through the loop, and then I'm going to pull that bit. So I've got another loop, and then I'm going to put my needle through that loop and just pull it tight and cut off your end. So now that's what that looks like on the outside, and my hook will very nicely sit through there like that. And as you can see, it gives you quite a bit of stretch. Right, so now I need to attach my hook to the other end and make the hem, and I need to make sure that I get my hook facing out so that it'll go through nicely. So just folding it over, and I'm going to bring my needle up between the 2 layers so that I can hide my knot in there, and go back down and just taking a small bite of the underside or the right side, I'm just going to stitch down my hem just like I did on the other side. This time I don't have to worry about the elastic.
My whole world falls apart with just the thought of you.
So just taking a tiny bite of the right side of the fabric and coming along and taking a larger bite of the top or the back piece.
And screaming now, it's the time to follow through.
Right, so that's my hem. Now I'm going to take my thread through between the layers and I'm going to come up in the center. Okay, now I want to attach my hook this way because I want this hook facing out like that to the right side, so that it hooks nice and easily, but also that hook will stick into you if you face it the wrong way. And now I'm going to just attach it by going through the loop of the hook and just stitching it on. So a couple of stitches on either side. This time I'm only going through the back piece of the fabric, or the hem, and a couple on this side as well. And then I'm going to hide my knot in between the two loops there. So here's my choker and my necklace. What do you think? I actually really like the choker, probably because it's purple, because you know purple's my thing. But if you wanted to make this as an everyday kind of choker rather than Halloween themed, what you could do is replace the bat with the teardrop. So make a teardrop dangle just like this and put it onto those two jump rings instead of the bat. So that's an option for you if you want to wear it every day rather than just at Halloween. Do you think I channeled my Agatha? What are your thoughts on that? Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and also give me the thumbs up if you like this. I'll see you next week.